Hello and welcome to this edition of the Vermont Report on Palestine, Israel. I'm Mark Hage. It's Monday, November 10th, 2025. It is day 766 of Israel's genocidal war against the Palestinians of Gaza. And according to the Gaza Health Ministry, 69,176 Palestinians have been killed, 170,690 have been wounded or injured, and 9,500 are still reported missing. In late October, the United Nations Satellite Center issued a detailed report with maps showing that 81% of the structures in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. That's nearly 200,000 structures in total. Also in late October, the human rights organization, the European Mediterranean Monitor, reported that since the ceasefire went into effect in Gaza on October 10th, Israel has killed, on average, 10 Palestinians per day. And on November 6th, Al Jazeera reported that fewer than 100 trucks of aid were being allowed by Israel to enter the Gaza Strip. 100 trucks a day of aid for 2.3 million desperate souls in Gaza. In late July, more than 170 international aid organizations called for shutting down the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. This was an entity created by Israel and the United States. American taxpayers doled out nearly $30 million to fund 4 sites that were established by Israel and run by U.S. military contractors for the distribution of food aid. But these sites, in fact, very soon became death traps for Palestinians. Our first report tonight is a documentary released this October by Fault Lines that looks at the origins and the purpose of the distribution sites that were set up by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and why they became, as I said earlier, death traps for Palestinians. The Doctors Without Borders organization said of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation sites, all 4 sites are in areas under full Israeli military control and are secured by private American armed contractors. The GHF is nothing but a deadly scheme, institutionalizing the Israeli policy of using starvation as a weapon of war in Gaza. In the Doctors Without Borders' nearly 54 years of operation, rarely have we seen such levels of systematic violence against unarmed civilians, children shot in the chest while reaching for food, people crushed or suffocated in stampedes, and entire crowds gunned down at distribution points. This must stop. Our second report is from the Listening Post, and it delves into what the Israeli government is calling a public relations disaster after a video surfaced showing Israeli soldiers torturing and sexually assaulting a Palestinian prisoner. In Israel, the controversy is not over the fact that a Palestinian prisoner was being tortured and sexually assaulted, but that the tape was released publicly. The military's chief prosecutor released the video, or at least has been accused of releasing it. She has been arrested. She's been branded a traitor. And just today it was reported she has attempted to commit suicide. So our second report again will be by the Listening Post examining this controversy in Israel. And finally, we're going to close the program with 3 songs of solidarity with the Palestinian people and their liberation struggle. The first of those songs is performed by Seth Staten-Watkin. It's called O Palestine, O Palestine. The next 2 are by a Palestinian artist, Rimbiana. Her first song is called The Risen Flag, and the second, We Are the Palestine.
كنا قبل الحرب عايشين ومرتاحين ونلعب وراء المدرسة. كنا نلاقي أكل نلاقي شرب.
4 أشهر اللي بدون طحين لما ماتوا الأولاد ماتوا.
الموت كان بيجيب له قديش
For months, Gaza starved, and even trying to reach aid could get you killed. After months of blockade, starting in May, Israel began allowing a limited flow of aid through a new U.S. and Israel-backed private group, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF.
أهالي غزة الكرام، نحن في مؤسسة غزة الإنسانية نعمل من أجلكم ومن أجل الحفاظ على حقوقكم وكرامتكم.
أنا عرفت عن طريق الفيس إنه فتحنا إنه في إنهم يوزعوا للشعب الفلسطيني أكل آمن. فرحنا يعني انبسطنا إنه في هانت يعني صارت في غزة في أكل.
الأمريكية هذه بوابة الموت، بدوا على المقاطير عشان أموت.
لما كنا نروح على المساعدات كان الإطلاق مباشر علينا والقذائف علينا.
What was promised as relief instead helped fuel the bloodshed in Gaza, with massacre after massacre of Palestinians seeking aid day after day, week after week. The UN says from May to September, more than 2,200 Palestinians were killed trying to get food from GHF sites.
The GHF is not only a handmaiden to Israel's military strategy, but it is actually demeaning and dehumanizing.
I've seen nothing like this level of institutionalized, internationally backed sadism and cruelty.
I saw it with my own eyes. I saw unarmed civilians gunned down. This humanitarian aid distribution was simply a facade, a charade.
هذا الجيش الدفاع الإسرائيلي وشركة الأمريكان عاملينها مخدع على الشعب الفلسطيني. عاملها زي تصفية للشعب يكتل فينا.
يا رب يا الله أشهد لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
I wanted to be a part of bringing humanitarian aid to a population that was in need. That was my interpretation of what we were doing. And I was sorely mistaken.
Anthony Aguilar, a former Green Beret, served 25 years in the U.S. military. Not long after he retired, he began working as a subcontractor for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. He went to Gaza in May, where he says he spent a month before quitting in protest.
As we crossed into it, we look at it, and in the vehicle as we're driving in, it's just absolute silence. Absolute, awestruck, mouth-dropped silence. Never in my life have I witnessed the level of destruction and annihilation that I witnessed in Gaza.
After the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, Israel cut off food, water, and fuel to Gaza, causing a starvation crisis. In March 2025, Israel imposed a total siege on Gaza, stopping almost all humanitarian aid. It pushed parts of Gaza into famine, while the rest of the Strip faced catastrophic hunger. Under pressure to address the crisis, Israel and the U.S. helped establish the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a private company presented as relief for a starving population. Anthony was assigned to provide security at GHF aid distribution sites.
It's the 2nd of June. It's right about 5 a.m. The Israeli Defense Forces have released their holding line. The Palestinians are coming to our location from the north. Within a matter of minutes, thousands of Palestinians coming to this site. This is the only site we have open today in the south.
There is ringing of the dinner bell, as I would call it. You could see the rush of Palestinians coming through in one wave of humans, like a tidal wave. The sheer desperation for food and the panic and the chaos and the fighting for survival. It's a mischaracterization to call it distribution. There is no distribution. There's no order. There's no accountability. There's no vetting or processing or validating who gets what. It is a survival of the fittest.
لقيت احنا بدنا اكل ومش إلنا لاطفالنا.
والله يمكن من اكثر من اسبوع ما عجلنا.
اطفال جعانين، احنا جعانين، الكل بحاجه لاي شيء يدخل.
This smoke you see there, that's tear gas. That stun grenade, as it explodes, is emitting tear gas.
The GHF ran 4 aid distribution sites, each secured by American contractors, mostly former military.
The way I would describe our presence as a contractor being in Gaza, I would say, yeah, we were deputized by the IDF to operate on their behalf.
Israeli forces were positioned nearby.
The routes where the sites were set up is not a safe location. The secure distribution sites were set up in an area of active combat operations. You're intentionally putting the civilian population directly in confrontation with active military forces. Deliberately.
At whose direction?
I was basically told that the IDF have already approved this. This is what we're doing.
تيتا. وين تيتا؟
بالجنة.
جنة.
حلو.
جنة.
تيتا.
جنة.
الكل عرفت شو حاطين. على الساعة 3 من استشهدت. اللي قالوا عنها آمنة. هم اللي قالوا لنا روح في شركة الأمريكان والدفاع للجيش الإسرائيلي إنهم بدهم يعطوكوا إياهم. يعني هدول بس يلبسوا إنهم مدنيين يوزعون الكربونة بتسليم زي إنهم يلبس زي إنه يسلمنا إياه باحترام. كله كان خدع علينا.
Like most Palestinians in Gaza, the Zidane family have been struggling to find food since Israel cut off aid in March. When they heard about the GHF sites, they tried going every day for a week.
خلص سكرت الدنيا معي، يعني لما عندك أسرة 8 تنفار يعني 10 تنفار مش لاقيين يوم. بدك تنجي بدك تروح لو على الموت، أنت عارف إن هذا موت وعذاب، بس إيش اللي يعني وداك الوجع يعني الجوع. عرفت كيف؟ يعني أطفال عندهم ما بيعنوش الطفل الصغير إنه في شكل بده ياكل، الطفل بده ياكل.
The family decided to split up to improve their odds of getting aid. Mohammed's wife Reem went with 2 of their children, 20-year-old Murfat and 13-year-old Ahmed.
يومين نطلع مع بعض أنا وياه يعني الأولاد، حتى بس يومتها أنا اللي أخرني يعني لحقتهم على الساعة 12 الليل. والله آخر حكي وأنا قلت لها ما تروحي، قالت لا والله لا أروح يا محمد وأجيب واحد من الأولاد كيكة نفسه وكلف الكيكة. قالت والله إذا ربنا ادانا طحين أجيب وأعمل لهم كيكة.
Reem and her 2 children set out around 7 p.m. on June 2nd. Ahmed says they followed the path that GHF organizers instructed them to take.
ما في مية، متنا عطش هناك. وجوعانين كنا وسقع وبرد، الدنيا كانت على البحر. بدنا نمشي كيلو ونص عشان نصل، عشان قلنا هانت. لما رحنا هناك تفاجأنا انهم كانوا يرموا علينا صواريخ الاستطلاع، يطلوا يطخ علينا الطرات، الدبابات والقناص في كل الاتجاهات متحصين، والقوات تطخ وترمي قنابل.
ليلتها كان طخ، يعني اقول لك اقسم بالله العظيم الشهر اللي كانوا مرمين على الشارع اكثر من البني ادمين اللي واقفين. ولما صار طخ ما قدرتش اكمل، رجعنا.
طرات بضلوا يطخ واحنا على البحر سقعانين. لما مشينا استشهدت امي، قعدنا ساعة واحنا منصحفين. انسبت ايدي، احنا فكرناها انها داخت من العطش. اللي لقينا دم بينزل من راسها، كانت على قفاها. بعد ساعة أجوا شابين لفوها. بعد شابين لما أجوا لفوها جت لرصاصين. قلنا يما لو سمعينا تشاهدي يما.
Reem died soon after, in the early hours of June 3rd. She was 45 years old, a mother of 7 and grandmother of 2.
يعني خلص في مساعدات آمنة قالوا عنهن. قالوا يعني في بدون ولا طلق ولا طخ ولا أي شيء.
Reem was one of at least 27 people killed while trying to get aid at a GHF site that day. Her family told us their dead bodies lay outside for hours before ambulances were able to enter the site.
نزلوه من الاسعاف. بنت مرفت حست في الكفن، عرفت انه لما نزلوه في النتفه هذه معرش، فتحنا معرش، كانت هذه لحظه الفراق عمنا.
It was the 7th time Reem had gone to a GHF site in search of food. Each time she returned empty-handed.
ايش حكت لك اخر شيء؟
طمنكوا ظهركم من الاطلاق.
Our mission is very simple. Get aid to the people of Gaza safely, directly, and for free. That's it. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
In July, after weeks of reports of killings at GHF sites, the organization held a live briefing to clear up what they called misinformation.
We exist so people live. No one has been shot in our distribution sites. The UN opposes us, and these lies just spread like wildfire.
Behind me, you can see UN trucks sitting here idly. Some are broken down, and some are laden with food and aid left to spoil. This is not a problem of access. It's a problem of execution.
يا بتموت خنق، يا بتموت فاس، يا بتموت من الطخ اللي حواليك. اللي بيقول لك احنا جايين من قطاع غزة هذول ولا جايين.
Before the GHF, the UN, through its agency UNRWA, handled most aid delivery in Gaza.
In terms of the reach into the communities, UNRWA was completely unparalleled. On the question of the food distribution sites, the GHF has 4, UNRWA had 400 across the Gaza Strip. The previous system with aid distribution through UNRWA and other agencies was extremely effective. Did we have people being shot dead coming to get UNRWA aid in a matter of months? Did we have people starving to death? Did we have to resort to airdrops? No.
أنا بتدافع الناس وهجموا الناس فوق بعض، كله وقع فوق بعض، يعني أنا وقعت على الأرض.
وكله على إيش؟ عشان الأكل والشرب.
ما عندناش وين ندفق بحين، إيش بدنا نروح؟ نروح زي الناس، إيش أعمل؟
There are credible accusations, okay, that aid ended up in the control of Hamas.
One of the justifications for the GHF was that Hamas routinely stole UN aid. But senior Israeli military officials acknowledged to the New York Times that they haven't found proof of this.
The Israeli authorities and GHF are putting out these lies that Hamas is stealing aid. There's never been any empirical evidence advanced for this.
Israel has been trying to sideline the UN agency for years.
I think the Israelis and the Americans want to remove UNRWA because of the politics. Behind all that is this question of actually forcing people out, either starving them to death or forcing them to leave because they're so hungry.
This is what we call a militarized aid system because it's completely under the control of the Israeli army. They can control where the food is going, where it's distributed, and where the Palestinians had to go to get the food. So these are the free sites in the south in blue.
3 of JHF's 4 aid sites are in southern Gaza. Forensic architecture found that by opening only briefly and with little warning, the system pressured Palestinians to move further south, part of an Israeli strategy to empty the north.
We analyzed 160 announcements of the JHF that they made on their Facebook account. You can see that in green is the time of opening. We see that on average, in the month of June, a site is open only for 23 minutes. After 19th of June, the sites are open only on 10 minutes, which is a very little time for Palestinians to enter the site, collect the box, and leave it. So they are relocating, they're moving their tents further south. What we see from the data that we analyzed is that there is a further attempt of displacing the population towards the south. This is by design.
GHF is a sort of handmaiden to a forced displacement relocation strategy. It is a sort of smokescreen. It's an alibi for Israel to do what it wants to do.
It's about ethnic cleansing. It's about forcing the Palestinians out, or either saying to them, if you stay, we'll shoot you or we'll starve you to death.
انا قبل ما بيحكي لي بدي اكل انا مش قادر يعني امبارح بالليل الولاد الثلاثه قاعدوا يصيحوا بالليل بابا بموت انا لا بموتوا اولاد بموتوا.
Saddam Abu Harbid relies on community kitchens to get food for his family. He once went to a GHF aid site and returned with a few kilos of flour.
كان فيش كراتيب والله اخذتها على الرمل لميت اللم جبت برملها.
He vowed never to go back.
وصلنا الامريكيه وخشينا الصبح واجن دبابتين طب نطخ في الناس طخ يعني تخيل ينزلوا جنود من الجيب وطب طخ في الناس زي هيك. بدو على المقاطير عشان اموت. طب مين بده يجري في الولد؟ اذا انا متت مين بده يجري في الولد؟
Saddam's 7-year-old son, Suhaib, developed Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS, a rare autoimmune disorder that shuts down muscles and even causes paralysis. Gaza has seen a surge of cases of the disease, which is caused by gastrointestinal or respiratory infections.
كان قبل 50 يوم أو شهرين كان طفل طبيعي بيلعب وبرقد وبيجري وبروح بيلعب مع أخواته ولا في أي شيء ولا في أي شيء. من قلة الأكل الولد صار يمشي ويقع بطل يحرك رجليه نهائياً يحرك رجليه. يعني هاي الحين اجت الدبانه رجله بابا قيم له الدبانه بابا رجلي وجعتني حكي لي بابا حكي لي في راسي حكي لي احنا 24 ساعه مسخرين حياتنا له.
Suhaib is in physical therapy. He needs specialized care Gaza's hospitals can't provide and a nutrient-dense diet to support his recovery.
الولد هذا المريض بده اقل شيء في اليوم 3 وجبات عشان كان مريض بده 3 طرف مثلا. طب بده في اليوم 3 بيضات 4 بيضات من يجيب اياها؟ وزن 16 كيلو. هذا فيروس بعيش على قله التغذيه، يعني اذا جسم فيه سوء تغذيه بعيش عليه. الولد بقول لي اذا انت ما لحقتوش ابنك بموت يعني بده اكل. طب انا بقول له دكتور من يجيب اكل؟ بقول دبر حالك. انا ادبر حالي. والله رحت على الامريكيه والله وزماء اصحابي معي ماتوا. يعني موت اسمها بوابه موت. هذول مش مساعدات، هذول مساعدات الموت.
Palestinians killed again in Israeli attacks at notorious distribution centers run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
The United Nations describes GHF sites as death traps.
Dozens of leading humanitarian organizations have called for the GHF to be shut down. They've described it as orchestrated killing and a deliberate scheme to advance Israel's policy of starvation against Palestinians. In June, Haaretz published testimonies from Israeli soldiers who say they were ordered to fire on unarmed civilians waiting for aid at GHF sites. One called it a killing field.
To fulfill the principle of humanity, an organization needs to treat the recipients, the people it's working with respect, with dignity, with a sense of humanity. The GHF does not do that.
And how has GHF undermined that?
By organizing its ration stations in a manner that forces desperately hungry people to make these impossible choices between, do I endanger my life by sprinting through a military zone where the IDF may shoot at me in order to feed my family, or do I accept my fate that we are going to go hungry? These are inhumane choices. No humanitarian would design a system like this.
The GHF is not an independent, unbiased entity that's delivering humanitarian assistance. It is an appendage of the Israeli government, directed by the Israeli government in everything that it does.
مضطر ترمي حالك للموت عشان ابني لما يقول لي جعان ولا هذا اسد جوعه. ما اطلعش انا صغير في وجه نظر ابني.
قلنا بطلنا نروح على الأمريكية، قلنا طيب يا عم بدنا ناكل ونشرب، فيش أكل إلا الأولاد. الأولاد بدهم ياكلوا ويشربوا.
All the children of Gaza are going to have the imprint of this malnutrition in their bodies, in their brains, for their lifetime.
Starvation is like a locomotive. You can pull up the brake now, but it will carry on for a long way down that track. So even if you got in all the nutrients today, it would take weeks, months, even years for the impact of what's going on now to be reversed.
The famine in Gaza is entirely man-made. In every case of man-made famine, the men who make the famine deny it.
We are going after Hamas. We're not going after the civilian population. We supply them with about 1.8 million tons. 1.8 million tons of food and aid. That's an enormous amount. And that's why you didn't have mass starvation at all.
Israel is clearly, deliberately, knowingly starving Gaza. If the government of Israel decided that it wanted this famine to stop, it could do it.
The Israeli military did not respond to our list of questions.
If you want to perpetrate genocide against a people, you don't necessarily have to kill them all. What you have to do to accomplish a genocidal aim is to break the spirit of communal solidarity that people have with each other. And the most efficient mechanism for doing that, the best weapon, is starvation.
Make no mistake, the GHF is an accomplice in these crimes, war crimes, crimes against humanity. What the GHF was about was destabilizing Gaza, was giving a pretext for shooting at unarmed civilians and making sure that day by day, ethnic cleansing was enforced.
The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation declined our request for an interview. But in an email to Fault Lines, they claim that no one has been shot at or in the immediate vicinity of any of their sites. The U.S. government has approved at least $30 million for GHF, so we took our questions to Washington.
Sorry. Can I ask you a question about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation? How can the U.S. continue to support it when the UN says over 1,000 Palestinians have been killed at their aid sites?
You believe the UN? Give me a break.
Senator Tom Cotton is a leading defender of Israel and the GHF.
We've been filming in Gaza. We filmed with a boy whose mother was killed in front of him while they were at the aid sites.
Really? You've been filming in Gaza?
Yes.
Who's letting you go into filming Gaza? That would be Hamas.
Would you use Hamas to justify a famine?
There's no famine in Gaza.
The world's leading experts on famine, the IPC, have declared it a famine. You're saying they're wrong?
The world's leading experts on famines are left-wing clowns who are anti-Semites and anti-Zionists.
You're asking the world to not believe what they can see with their own eyes on video.
One day, everyone will say that this was wrong. And you can't say that you didn't know. The question that I have is, what are we going to do about it? Right now, the United States of America is on the wrong side of history.
والله صايمين والله امبارح حد الله ما اكلنا فيش شيء خلاص فيش شيء اليوم فيش امبارح طلع اول امبارح لا فطرنا ولا تغدينا ولا تعشينا والله على المي والملح والله على المي والملح
احنا صارت ارواحنا رخيصه اللي عند العالم صرنا عنا خاص الشهيد يندفن عادي ايش احكي اين طفل عايز زي كل واحد بحضانه طمو
بحس الدنيا سكرت فيا في اولادي يعني ايه بالامانه ايش اقول لك هي عمود الدار عندي يعني قبل الاستشهاد بيوم قاعدة جنبي كنت زعلان شوي بتقول لي مالك زعلان ضحكت انا وياه والله ما كنت اعرف الزعل اللي بتضل لك الشمعة طفت
Israel, where war crimes committed against Palestinians are considered a PR problem. We dig into what happened at that Israeli prison, the leaking of the video, and the spin doctors now working overtime in Tel Aviv. Sudan, where journalism and accountability are among the many casualties in northern Darfur. And what's in a nickname? In Kenya, where the political space is full of them, the answer is a lot. The Israeli government is dealing with what it calls a public relations disaster, a case that, according to any legal system, is a clear-cut war crime. First, a warning to our viewers. This is a story about rape. At the heart of it is a leaked video showing Israeli soldiers in the process of torturing and sexually assaulting a Palestinian prisoner. The video is sickening to watch, even though the Israelis use their shields to hide what they are doing. And the resulting uproar in Israel has not been about the abuse. It's been about the exposure and the woman who leaked the footage, the Israeli military's chief prosecutor, who is now being branded as a traitor. She's been arrested, while the accused soldiers have been cast as some kind of victims. Dig a little deeper into this story, and it reveals so much about Israel's PR playbook when it comes to war crimes and cover-ups, when potential moments of reckoning turn into battles over optics. And it provides yet another glimpse into an Israeli society that is unwilling or incapable of coming to terms with what it has become. To hear the Israeli Prime Minister tell it, this particular story could prove to do unprecedented damage to Israel's global reputation.
זה אולי הפיגוע הסברתי הקשה ביותר שמדינת ישראל חוותה מאז הקמתה, אני לא זוכר.
Was Benjamin Netanyahu referring to the indictment issued against him by the International Criminal Court for his alleged war crimes?
There are other people, like the prosecutor in The Hague, that seeks to handcuff us.
Was he talking about his security minister, taunting Palestinian prisoners last week, celebrating their abuse, predicting that death awaits them? Or was he citing these images from Gaza, filmed by Israeli soldiers, documenting and savoring on social media a genocide? It was none of the above. Netanyahu was talking about this video, showing Israeli soldiers hiding behind the cover of their shields, brutalizing a Palestinian prisoner, raping him, and the fact that the video was released to the world by an Israeli.
You can clearly see that they're doing something to this person. There are obviously charges brought against them for really horrifying violence, but you can't actually see any of that on the video. What you can see is a bunch of people covering up something that looks very, very violent.
Israel always tries to position itself as the civilized vis-a-vis the uncivilized. And so for them, rape is considered as the sort of ultimate act of barbarity. That's why the Israeli public and Netanyahu are so upset with the leaking of that footage, because it positions them in a place of barbarity. Because there is still in Israeli society this idea that the Israeli army is beyond barbarism, that they maintain this moral standard.
There have been two stages to this story. Stage one took place more than a year ago, with the release of this video from an Israeli prison, State Teman, in August of 2024. It was leaked anonymously to an Israeli news network, Channel 12.
הם לוקחים את המחבל, הנה הם כאן בפינת המתקן, כנראה מודעים למצלמות האבטחה, ומנסים להסתיר מעשיהם במגינים.
Right-wing Israelis, including politicians, then showed up at the prison and broke in, demanding that no soldiers be prosecuted regardless of what the video showed. It took 6 months, but the soldiers were eventually charged, although not for rape, for, quote, aggravated abuse. At the time, no one knew that the leaker of the prison video was Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, the top lawyer at the Israeli military, the same official who later brought the charges. Stage 2 began 10 days ago, when Tomer Yerushalmi revealed she was the source of the leak and then resigned. A few days later, she went missing, was reported to be on the run, then turned up and was arrested under charges including breach of trust and disclosure of official information. Do not mistake Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi for your typical whistleblower. Before exposing what happened at State Teman, she had played a big part in covering up Israeli war crimes in Gaza by blocking the prosecutions of the officers and soldiers involved.
It depends on who you ask, but since you're asking me, she was a willing part of Israel's genocidal machine in Gaza. She actively prevented any kind of serious investigation into Israel's crimes from being opened, even though there was evidence galore. Why did she decide to leak this video? I think because she was outraged at the moral indignity as much as because this was turning into a political scandal that would end up at her doorstep.
And it's also possible that she understands, as a very experienced lawyer, that Israel is increasingly accused of war crimes and there is an open case against it in The Hague and the ICC, and that if she didn't do this, that she could be tried as well for being a part of covering up the crimes that the IDF has committed.
We see this at the heart of everything Israel does, that belief that it should be allowed to conduct military operations in whatever fashion it likes, to build settlements, to demolish homes, to bomb entire neighborhoods, to bomb other countries, that there should be no accountability. And this is the situation in which the former Israeli military advocate general finds herself in. It is a witch hunt. They are after her. There are people who talk about lynching. One wonders, you know, if her life is still under threat even now.
Of all the deranged reactions this story has produced in Israel, it would be tough to top this one from its Minister of Defense, Israel Katz. Katz called it a case of blood libel, referring to the age-old anti-Semitic tropes used to accuse Jews of killing for pleasure. Even though the video was shot in an Israeli prison, on an Israeli camera, was leaked by an Israeli prosecutor to an Israeli journalist working for Israel's Channel 12, Guy Peleg, who then informed the Israeli public.
פרשת שדה תימן אינה פרשה של עלילה. איש לא העליל, הכל בכתב אישום שאנחנו נקריא את סעיפיו.
Channel 12 now says that because of the blowback, it has had to hire security protection for its reporter. And Peleg has come under fire on his own channel for doing something that not nearly enough Israeli journalists have done since October 7th, 2023, his job.
This kind of shows the difference between a real journalist, which is rare in Israel, and then two of the people who were kind of attacking him. One of them is a reporter, and they basically were just upset that he was reminding people that this isn't some kind of made-up story.
אנחנו מדברים עכשיו על מדינת ישראל, על חיילי צה"ל, וזה כאילו לשדר את הסרטון מחדש. מה זה טוב? זה הכל.
אם זה היה תלוי בי, היינו משדרים את הסרטון משום שהוא לב החקירה.
And basically they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to see it. So this is the culture and the atmosphere.
Having seen this short video clip, this classified footage, one wonders if one was allowed to look at all the CCTV footage in all these detention centers holding Palestinians, just what we would find out. We've only just seen one piece of footage, but if you had access to all the footage of the last few years, and indeed prior to the 7th of October 2023, what would we discover? Because the allegations of torture, abuse, sexual abuse have been going around for years.
Not that the coverage in the international media has come close to reflecting that. Mainstream Western outlets that routinely speak truth to power domestically continue to treat a genocidal Israeli state with kid gloves editorially. When the Israeli captives were freed by Hamas, those outlets feasted on that story, describing them as hostages. The Palestinians released by Israel, who are typically labeled as prisoners, attracted relatively little coverage.
Today's return of the last living Gaza hostages has also triggered the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees.
But the culprits in the State Teiman sexual assault case know that the relative impunity they get from international journalists may not extend to the international justice system. Which is why, when they showed up in front of the cameras this past week, flanked by their lawyers, 4 of those 5 soldiers wore masks, hid their faces.
They're concealing their identity because it's become very rare for Israeli soldiers to conceal their identity, the West Bank and in Gaza as well. They know that the world accuses them rightfully of war crimes, and they conceal their identity to show the world 2 things. First, you won't outsmart us, and second, we don't care. You go ahead and accuse us as much as you want. We'll do the smart thing and conceal our identity so you won't be able to convict us.
The prime instigator of this assault has been going around on Israeli TV, on social media, giving interviews.
אתם שיקרתם לעם ישראל, הכפשתם, ואתם תשלמו על זה.
That really summarizes how much Israeli society will stand behind an army that has committed genocide in Gaza.
מנסים להציג אותנו, את הלוחמים, כברברים, כמו הנוח'בות.
And the fact that the Israeli public is much more outraged that this footage was leaked rather than what was happening in that footage. And that tells us everything we need to know about Israeli society.
I don't like to compare the treatment or the suffering, but there's Israeli hostages that were released a few weeks ago from Gaza, and they're already singing and dancing on TV. And I'm not sure that somebody who has gone through abuse in an Israeli prison is able to recover as quickly.
In 1948, the natives were expelled from the land of their ancestors, their homes and cities shelled. From the traitors in Transjordan to clandestine British demand by the settlers' Zionist army that rampaged across the land. Oh, Palestine, we hear your desperate plea that once again across the land your people can be free. Oh, Palestine, your people live in fear. We demand your emancipation from the river to the sea. 1967, Israel did invade to conquer and to colonize what little had remained. The people of old Palestine, once again their fates entwined with the Zionist occupation of their homes and weary minds. Oh, Palestine, we hear your desperate plea that once again across the land your people can be free. Oh, Palestine, your people live in fear. We demand your emancipation from the river to the sea. In 2023, they've come a final time to destroy your homes and families with a murderous, lethal design. The bombs overhead are falling as our leaders continue their lies. The sky does glow and the blood it flows as we hear the children's cries. Oh, Palestine, we hear your desperate plea that once again across the land your people can be free. Oh, Palestine, your people live in fear. We demand your emancipation from the river to the sea. We stand with your emancipation. Your people will be free.
They said our sun would set, our spirit fade to dust, our past a whisper, our future filled with rust. But from the ashes a new morning finds its way, a silent courage shining in the light of day. The olive tree still stands, its roots deep in the stone, a silent promise that we're never truly alone. Oh, the rays of the flag, a story told across the land, a vibrant symbol held in every steadfast hand, a crimson ribbon stained with blood and sacrifice, a testament to what we paid, to what was worth the price. From the Jordan to the sea, a heart that's finally free. This is the song of what was and what can be. The keys still hang, but now their purpose has a change. A future built where we can finally rearrange a path to peace, a future we can now define upon a history that's forever intertwined. The walls they built are crumbling, the fences come undone, a new is the song of what was and what can be. بعد الليالي السود يعلمنا يا واد الحرية والثبات. هذا هو منشيد أرضنا المحررة، هذا هو منشيد أرضنا المحررة، هذا هو منشيد أرضنا المحررة، هذا هو منشيد أرضنا المحررة. The seeds they buried have finally burst to bloom. I hope that breaks through all the darkness and the gloom. Our freedom's harvest, a story told in every tear, a promise that we carry now. We have no fear. So raise the flag, a symbol of our final stand, for the olive groves and for our promised land, for the right to return, for the future we demand. This is the song of our liberated land. This is the song of our liberated land. Dust upon their brows and fear in their gaze, tiny feet wandering through smoky haze, hopes like soft petals crushed where they tread, in lands of jasmine bloom where angels have led. Each giggle once golden, now lost in the air, a star dims in silence in moments unfair. We are the Palestine, our spirits still burn. 1,000 lost moments, we ache and we yearn. The rockets may thunder and tear down the sky. Our hearts will not falter, we still will ask why. Our prayers ride the wind over land and side. We are the Palestine in sorrow and shine. Through ruins and twilight, a mother's faint cry for tomorrow's unclaimed and tears yet to dry. No swings in the playgrounds, no songs for the night, just echoes of sorrow and dreams lost to fright. They carry the silence too heavy to show, a youth scarred by silence, too young yet to know. We are the Palestine, our spirits still burn. 1,000 lost moments, we ache and we yearn. The rockets may quiet resilience that breaks through chains. For justice to bloom, a world to renew. Your names will be sung like morning dew. فلسطين بوجه كريم. Rest now, bright spirits, your journey is done in a sky that opens to greet everyone.
Thank you, as always, for watching. I'm Mark Hage. This has been the Vermont Report on Palestine, Israel, and we'll see you soon, I hope.